Tonight on Paranormal.
Right now we're packing for our Halloween investigation at Corbin Cabin.
Tonight is Halloween. Some people think that it's easier for spirits to show themselves on this night. If that's true, tonight is your opportunity.
George Corbin, are you here?
We've got a really intense thunderstorm that's rolled in.
How long have you been here?
Hello?
Do you like when people come and stay in a cabin?
It's a little cool here.
Stormy.
So it is Tuesday, October 29th, 2019, and we are headed back to Corbin Cabin in Shenandoah National Park in Virginia. We were last there in 2016, and we actually had some pretty interesting stuff happen while we were there. The first night we heard some pretty unusual knocking sounds that seemed to be coming from all around us, although probably was animals.
Rodents or something,
Yeah, we did see a lot of mice when we were there. But the second night, the locked off camera we had placed upstairs in the loft area actually zoomed in by itself.
The first time at Corbin Cabin, one of the biggest things that we kind of had happen was one of our cameras zoomed in by itself in the attic where I was sitting. And we still have not been able to come up with an explanation for how it zoomed by itself.
This time we're going back for 3 nights in a row, with our final night of investigation happening on Halloween. So fingers crossed, it should be an awesome time. I've been wanting to get back to this place ever since. We're bringing more cameras and better equipment than we had last time. It's going to be a much more technical investigation and a longer investigation.
Yep.
So I'm pumped. It should be
I'm
an
ready,
awesome trip. Located in Shenandoah National Park in Virginia, Corbin Cabin has stood for 110 years, one of the few reminders of the people who once called the park a home. Just shy of a century ago, the lands that now form Shenandoah National Park had been the home to generations of self-sufficient mountain communities. Corbin Cabin was built in 1909 by George T. Corbin, a farmer and moonshiner, as a home for himself and his new bride, Nee. The cabin would remain their home for the next 15 years, during which time Nee gave birth to 3 children. But in winter of 1924, tragedy struck. 3 hours after giving birth to George's 3rd son, Nee Corbin died of complications from the birth. Her body was laid to rest by her husband in a simple family plot yards from their home. George would later remarry, and he and his family remained in their cabin until 1938, when they, like all their neighbors, were forced from their lands to make way for the national park we know today. Added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1989, Corbin Cabin is currently maintained by the Potomac Appalachian Trail Club, who rent the cabin to hikers and park visitors as a backwood shelter. Since opening to the public, however, Corbin Cabin has developed a reputation for unusual disturbances. Visitors allegedly encountering the sounds of scratching and footsteps from the loft when it is unoccupied. Feelings of dread and the mysterious figure of a woman has been seen roaming the surrounding woods. In 2016, Crypto conducted its first investigation of Corbin Cabin. I was joined by my investigator Pam and our tech specialist Miranda, and we spent 3 days there monitoring the location and trying to see if we could come up with any natural explanations for the reports of activity there.
At Corbin Cabin, there were a few different reportings that dogs felt very uneasy in the cabin or in the area. So we actually decided to take my dog Haley to see, how she would react, and she was just like, oh, this is a cool little cabin. She didn't care. She liked it.
On the second night of our 2016 investigation, the locked-off camera we had set up in the loft area on the second level actually zoomed in by itself about 6 minutes into the tape. What's interesting about the event is it only started zooming in once we had begun trying to communicate with any spirits that might be there.
Cameras are good. Getting steep. Watch yourself.
Hey there.
I see it. Visual contact.
Oh. Fuck me.
It is good to be back. We got about, I would say, 2 hours left of daylight, so we should probably bang out our first set of baselines, and then you can start setting up equipment.
And pump some water.
Pump some water, yeah. The things you have to do in the woods that you don't have to do at regular locations.
When it comes to investigating a place like Corbin Cabin, it can be quite difficult. You kind of have to, you gotta hike in, which is pretty exhausting, especially with all your gear and stuff.
So it's 3:55 here on night one, and we're about to start taking our first set of baseline readings here at Corbin Cabin. Baseline readings are designed so that we can study different environmental conditions, temperature, humidity, electromagnetic fields, and radiation levels. So we're going to be paying close attention to these over the next 3 days to see if there are any measurable changes or any environmental anomalies here that we're able to detect.
So far all the baselines seem pretty normal. Nothing has set our alarm bells off yet, so we'll just keep taking baselines throughout the night and see if anything changes.
So right now we are just getting our firewood for night one. It's gonna get a little chilly tonight. The only source of heat we have here is the fireplace in the living room and the wood stove back in the kitchen. So we need to make sure we have enough wood and water over the next 3 days so that we can, not die out here. Lasagna.
Once we finished our chores, we had our dinner, then began setting up our equipment to monitor the location.
So this is night one at Corbin Cabin, and we're just about to go set up some cameras. We're changing up the angles a little bit from last time, so hopefully we'll get something good. We ran 5 static night vision cameras with audio in each room in the cabin. We also set up several motion sensors as well as a laser grid system in the loft.
Once we had all our equipment set up and recording, we just tried to relax and act like average hikers.
Things stayed pretty quiet on the first night, and a little after midnight, we both decided to get some sleep and leave the equipment to do its thing.
Coffee time.
We continued with our observations at the cabin for a while, then decided we would try once again to locate the Corbin family cemetery, final resting place of Nee Corbin, that had eluded us on our first investigation. Hey, Bear. Maybe some type of rock wall, but there's nothing that looks like a headstone. Unfortunately, I mean, it started raining, and we gave it a good try, but we could not find them at all.
We've probably walked by it like at least 3 times by now. You think you want to head back?
Yep,
Start getting stuff ready for tonight?
let's do it.
After dinner on the second night, we conducted another set of baseline readings, then decided to do a sweep of the location with our thermal imaging camera.
Oh, rattle.
All right. Thermal imaging cameras are special devices that actually let you see heat. We use thermal cameras on paranormal investigations to try to find any unusual fluctuations in temperature, and also anything that might provide a natural explanation for reports of paranormal activity. Animals in walls, noisy pipes, and drafts around doors and windows. Chilly.
Yeah.
So, the story goes that some people have seen a woman walking around in the woods. No description. I mean, the biggest explanation I would see is just other hikers. We had people camping across the river last night. That could totally explain people seeing somebody walking around in the trees. We are in a national park after all. Like the forest just looks pretty uniform temperature.
Yeah.
Wish it wasn't raining.
I know.
Rain just makes everything blah. I didn't see any women running around,
No.
dead or otherwise. That picture is so creepy. I know I said it last time, but man, look at that thing. What is that child eating?
I don't.
Like, where is the parental supervision? Haven't seen many rodents, or any rodents.
Yeah, seriously.
Sort of surprised. The place seems so much more taken care of than last time we were here.
Yeah.
So this is where that pot was hanging
Yeah.
that the other crew that investigated here, the Adventure Myths team, had fall off a hook. And I think it was like right here. So pan kind of like this, and it apparently came off and just dropped. And yeah, I mean, the only thing I could think is maybe if you didn't hang it right and it was
Yeah.
like on the hook. The loft. All right. Roof is a little cooler, but that's to be expected. It's just lack of insulation. So that's where our camera was last time that zoomed in by itself. The DC, direct current, the natural levels of magnetic radiation have been a little bit higher up here. Night 2, EVP Session 1. After we finished the thermal sweep, it was finally time for us to try and make contact with any presences that might be in the location. So we decided to conduct an EVP session in the main room. So this is recording Corbin Cabin, Night 2, EVP Session 1, 8:44 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is Nick and Miranda, and we are sitting in the main living room.
EVPs are electronic voice phenomena. They're sounds that are not audible to the human ear, so it has to be picked up on, a cassette player or an audio recording device. The technique of EVP is really used to kind of engage some type of interaction.
The rain is really loud.
That is...
Sounds like it's really coming down. So, good evening. My name is Nick Smith-Koblitz. This is my friend Miranda.
Hi.
And we traveled all the way from Queens, New York to come and see Corbin Cabin. How many people are here in the cabin tonight? That's rain outside hitting the roof. Did you used to live here? Was this your home at one point?
How long have you been here? Do you like when people come and stay in the cabin?
If there's somebody here with us, would you be able to tell us your name, please? Are you a member of the Nicholson family or the Corbin family?
Are you upset that people kicked you off your land? Or kicked George off of his land after he built this house?
Oh, it
Yeah,
sounded
it
like
sounded
a
like
knock.
a knock.
Was that somebody responding, or was that just the rain? Sounded like it almost came from against that back wall. To me, anyway. Were you upset when you were made to leave this house? Leave your life here behind, your home? Tell you what, I'm going to switch positions for just a minute. I'm
Okay.
just going to go sit at the top of the stairs.
Okay.
Nick going up into the loft.
It's me moving a chair.
This is right where our camera was last time. That zoomed in by itself. This time the camera's the other way, facing this area. If there's somebody up here, would you be able to give me a sign of your presence, please? Maybe knock on something or show me a light.
Last time we were here, did you maybe touch the camera that was up at the top of the stairs?
Nee Corbin, are you here? Feels a little cool here, but I guess just a draft from the window. There's little crevices and stuff here. Well, it's dark.
and dusty up here, but I don't feel weird. I don't feel creeped out or anything. I feel like I'm alone. I don't feel like anyone or anything is up here with me. All right, Miranda, I'm coming downstairs.
Okay.
Ugh. 11 a.m., day 3, Halloween, baby.
So it's 5:45 here on October 31st, Halloween at Corbin Cabin, and we're just getting ready to begin our investigations for this evening. Halloween as we know it today is a tradition that dates back over 2,000 years to County Roscommon in Ireland. Every October 31st, the ancient Celts believed the goddess Morrigan would arise from Rothcrogan Cave, bringing famine, pestilence, demons, fairies, and other creatures with her. Ancient Celts would dress their children up as these demons, fairies, and other creatures so that they could hide in plain sight and not be taken back to the underworld. This is where the tradition of dressing up for Halloween comes from. Today, Halloween has evolved in Western culture to become the second biggest consumer holiday behind Christmas. In the 15 years that I've been investigating the paranormal, I've never noticed any sort of trend between it being Halloween and there being more paranormal activity. But who knows? Maybe tonight Corbin Cabin will prove us wrong and we'll get lucky, get something really interesting. So it is Halloween night and it is absolutely pouring right now. We've got a really intense thunderstorm that's rolled in. I mean, look at this rain. I'd like to see Taps here trying to do this.
On Halloween night, the weather unfortunately got a lot worse. It was pretty violent and high winds, so it was intense. For our first communication attempts that night, Nick and I decided to split up. Nick wanted to investigate the loft, so I decided to check out the bunk room.
Good evening again. My name is Nick Smith-Koblitz. I traveled all the way from New York City to come and see Corbin Cabin.
Just for audio recording purposes, that is Nick that you can hear, who is in the loft in the next room, so marking that on audio.
Rain is just ridiculously loud.
Hello. My name's Miranda. Is there anybody in this room right now with me?
Tonight is Halloween. Some people think that it's easier for spirits to show themselves on this night. If that's true, tonight is your opportunity, because we're here to speak with you. So if there is anybody in this cabin, apart from myself or my friend Miranda, please make your presence known to us. We open all doors, we tear down all barriers. Tonight is for you. If there's somebody here, give it everything you've got.
I've got a bunch of meters, little devices, these black boxes in front of me. If there is anyone here with me, could you maybe approach one of these boxes and wave your hands around, or maybe just stand next to it or in front of it? It would be really appreciated. We really just would like to know that you're here. Did you used to celebrate Halloween? Or do you still celebrate Halloween, should I say?
If there is anybody here in the cabin, I'd really like to speak with you. I'd like to meet you. Do you think you could come over and shake my hand, please?
All the meters are holding steady. Oh, is there? Oh, that was me.
Hello?
That was me.
Is there anybody here?
See, if we had our walkies, he'd be walking me right now. Miranda, did you just make a noise? Yeah, it was me. Alright. Hang on a second. Yeah, it was me, Nick!
I think that was just something hitting the roof. That startled me.
Could you maybe make a loud banging noise? Like...
I know some of the stuff we have with us might seem kind of strange, but it's just cameras, microphones, things that we can use to hopefully see and hear you. If there is anybody here in this cabin, could you walk up to one of our cameras in any room? Or maybe speak to one as loud as you can.
I know that the man who built this place, his wife passed away during childbirth on their third child by the name of Nee Corbin. Is Nee here right now?
If you have been trying to speak with us over the past couple days, communicate with us, we really appreciate it, but we're not really sure if there is anybody here. The place seems pretty quiet to us. If there is anybody here other than myself and Miranda, would you be able to give us some kind of sign of your presence? Could you knock on something really loudly 3 times like this? How many people are in this cabin tonight? Is it just my friend Miranda and myself? Are we alone here?
Is there anybody here with us right now? If there is anyone in this room, do you think that you could come up to one of these devices on the table we have set up over here and either just get close to it or move your hand around it just so that we can know that you're here in the room with us, please?
We sat there for a long time and waited for something to happen, but neither of us noticed anything unusual, so we decided to take one last crack at the grounds.
George Corbin, are you here?
Finally, a little after 10:30, the rain died back and we had our window to investigate. But then the temperature dropped and the wind picked up. Hey, Bear. Let's not stand under a tree.
When the tree fell on Halloween night, it was pretty it was pretty shocking. I've never been that close to a tree falling because we were literally like too close for comfort, let's just say. After taking our final set of baseline readings, it was time to pack up our gear and begin our return hike back up to the car. So Nick and I are about to do some evidence review for Corbin Cabin. There's lots of stuff to go over. We got a lot of video, thermal, and audio to review. And then there's a lot of baselines that we have. And then, of course, we have to compare all that data to the last time that we went with Pam.
All right. Well, Corbin Cabin, how cool was it to go back to that place?
Oh, it was awesome. It was totally different, though, I feel.
Absolutely. I mean, it just seemed like much more taken care of. I mean, none of us claim to be psychic or sensitive in any extraordinary sense, but it felt different to me, at least, if that means anything. It felt peaceful. It felt empty. I didn't feel like there was someone else there. It just felt like the two of us.
Yeah. It definitely had a different feel to it. It felt, empty and, yeah, like what you're saying, just peaceful. Like, it felt very relaxing and sort of, I don't know, just like, I guess, less heavy, lighter.
One thing that I did while we were there was I spent a lot of time going through the cabin log to just see what people have been writing about and see if anybody had recorded anything unusual happen. And absolutely none of the entries that I saw mentioned anything out of the ordinary or unusual. So if there is any paranormal activity there, I mean, people aren't writing about it.
Yeah.
Obviously, the weather we had for the second 2 days was unbelievably terrible. Super wet, super rainy. The wind was amazing. Took that tree down.
Oh man, that was crazy.
Could have killed us if we had been standing over there instead of where we were. Obviously, because of the weather, the audio was just totally contaminated. If we had or did get any EVPs, they were just totally washed out. Did you see anything on video or thermal?
When going over video and thermal, everything looked clear. There was nothing, out of the ordinary.
Did any of our cameras, none of them zoomed in by themselves?
No cameras zoomed in by themselves. They all worked the way they should.
Well, based on the evidence that we've collected now over 5 nights of investigation and years of historical research, I don't think we can label Corbin Cabin as haunted.
It's a great place to go. I mean, I know we've talked about just going back for, going to the spot.
I love Corbin Cabin. I think it's a good story. It's a kind of creepy but beautiful location.
Yeah.
It's in the middle of nowhere. It's the perfect setting for a ghost story. Whether or not there's a ghost there, I'm more inclined to say no.
One of the main reasons why we went back to Corbin Cabin was, of course, we wanted to see if anything weird would happen with the camera again. Personally, I don't really think Corbin Cabin is scary. I think the first time we went there were some reservations about it. It seems like a spooky cabin in the middle of the woods. But it actually has a very nice and calming, inviting vibe to it. The only time I was a little bit nervous was probably being in the loft alone, but that was more or less probably psychological.
I'm very proud of the work that we've done at Corbin Cabin. I think we've hit it really hard over the 5 nights that we've investigated there. Right now, I'm leaning more towards saying it's probably not haunted, but we always like to do 3 on-site investigations before we make that conclusion. So we'll be going back to Corbin Cabin at least once more before we close the book on that.